President Seymour, Mike and the trustees, to faculty, staff, alumni, students, friends of Lambuth, and finally and especially the class of 2011 and the families, friends and supporters especially of this class of 2011. And no greater signal honor than to be invited to come and address you today on this special day. I think back over the years and know that the greatest honors I've received in life have come through and in association with this university, and I am grateful. The President has set the tone for today, and I will seek to honor that. But let me just say to you, as part of my own catharsis, I suspect, that inside my head and heart are many, many expressions of gratitude and love, an overwhelming sense of sadness for this day, and yet an acknowledgement that this is the day for the seniors. You're entitled to this day, and I will try to honor that. I did, for those present at the baccalaureate service, I did promise the President that I would keep my clothes on during the service. Those who were not there will find out later. I was out of town when an email came. I found a way to make connections with my laptop and received the email in which President Seymour was reminding me I was to speak today and ask for a bio and the topic. I didn't know what the topic was going to be. I couldn't get back to him immediately with an email. But I looked, as I began to deliberate even more intently, I looked over at the Wi-Fi, the router by which I had made connections. And taped on the top of the router was the password that I used to get on. You might not believe this, but the password was whatever. Whatever was the password. And as I began to develop what already was in my mind and heart to say, I thought, that's it. That's it. The password to all that is possible, but more than that, I remembered the seal that represents Lambuth College, Lambuth University, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. That's what I want to use today, and talk about the passport to possibilities that are yours. That verse from Philippians has been for all these years, I suspect, from the first days of Lambuth, the mantra, the password, before there were ever passwords. It's a call to an adventurous journey, an arduous adventure. Whatsoever things are true, whatever it is, whatever is true. About a year ago, I conducted the funeral service for my physician, longtime physician, Dr. Russell Hugh Robbins of this city. Sometime after I retired, he and I were out to lunch, and in conversation, we were talking about some common experiences we had had. And one of them had to do with professors at the University of Tennessee Medical School in Memphis. He was sharing with me about an experience he had. He was in his last term as finishing up his academics at UT Med School. He mentioned a professor that meant a lot to him, but he said, here's what the professor said to us. Gentlemen, he said, there were no females in the class. Gentlemen, he said, I want to tell you something before you leave these halls. 85% of all we have taught you here is wrong. 85%. And I looked at Russ Robbins and said, well, It's been, what, 39 years now you've been in practice? What is it? I said, how about it? He said it was about right. That was just about right. 85%. It is an arduous journey to be able to say, whatever is true, whatever. The professor had said to them, your challenge is to go out and find that 15% that's correct and do it. Find the other that's not going to work and will not hold up under the scrutiny of truth, and do something different with that. I was in the chapel this morning and opened a hymn book again to page 597. It's one of my favorite pages in the book because it has on it one of my most meaningful prayers, a prayer that comes from Christians in Kenya. And here's how the prayer goes. It's entitled, For the Spirit of Truth. From the cowardice that dares not face new truth. From the laziness that's content with half-truth. From the arrogance that thinks it knows all truth. Good Lord, deliver me. Isn't that a wonderful prayer? I would entrust it to you. Take it with you. From the cowardice that dares not face new truth. From the laziness that's content with half-truth. From the arrogance that thinks it knows all truth. Good Lord, deliver us. 3 years ago, I was at a baccalaureate service at Lambuth University. President James Wagner was addressing the graduates. He usually preaches the baccalaureate sermon. He does a series. He's been doing a series for the last few years on core values, like those in Philippians 4:8, whatsoever things. And his topic to those graduates 3 years ago was on humility. When he said, let me tell you people, and he was addressing those graduates, the bachelors of arts and science and masters and doctor's degrees, the cum laudes and the magna cum laudes and the summa cum laudes and all the rest. And he talked about humility, and he said, what I implore you to do is every one of you go out from here and find somebody that knows more about the subject than you do. Find somebody that knows more about life than you do. Get them to take time with you. Sit at their feet. It is an arduous journey. Whatsoever things are true. Whatsoever things. They're all truths. Justice is a truth. Love is a truth. It's all truth. Load on that wagon every virtue and core value that you can find and take it as truth. Eternal truth. The second thing I would suggest, what the password to living, the password to higher life, after all. The password. Here it is. Lambuth has taught you to think. That's been part of one of the core values. I became aware of it. It has been for years. But it's not just to teach you to think, but to think more deeply. To think more highly. Not more highly of yourself than you ought to think, but to think deeply and highly of all the core values, all the things that make life. Today is about you. You graduating seniors, it's about you. And it needs to be about you, and we want it to be about you. But there is a sense in which it's not just all about you, it's not about you at all. You see, one of the greatest obstacles to deeper living and abundant life is that we take even the highest values and try to get them to fit into our lives. And the higher values often suffocate in the smallness of self-centeredness. And what we're called to do is to let those cardinal values explode in our lives and call us to give ourselves to something larger than ourselves. And finally, and that's what this passage begins that way. Finally, sisters and brothers, whatsoever things are true. I don't know of any word that has such contrast in it in our time than the word whatever. Whatever with a shrug of the shoulders or a nod of the head or a turn of the wrist means nothing. whatever, just callousness, indifference, non-involvement, apathy, indifference. But used in a different way, and I think in the way the King James Version put it, which was there from the beginning, was the whatsoever things are true. And I think about that today, and that's the call to passionate pursuit of our purpose. It's the password to passionate pursuit. I'm a bridge person. I had the opportunity to come here and be in the classrooms with Dean Eagle and Dr. Arthur Oxley and Catherine and Sarah V. I see heads nodding. You did that. And I've also had the privilege of being here and getting to know many of the present faculty. I didn't know much about Dr. Walter Lambuth, but Walter Russell Lambuth died 2 years before Lambuth began, in the transition from MCFI to Lambuth. And I suspect that there was a meeting in which people said, what are we going to call this college? And somebody knew the story of Dr. Walter Russell Lambuth. His parents were missionaries. He went to Emory and Henry College in Emory, Virginia. He came back from that experience, went to Vanderbilt, got a joint degree in theology and in medicine, and went with his wife Daisy to be missionary in Japan, in Korea, in Africa, in China. Gave it all he had and died in Japan. His ashes were brought to China and interred at the grave of his mother. And somebody said, why don't we call it Lambuth? I got here, and just as Dr. Womack was retiring, Dr. Luther Gobble had come in as president. But Dr. Womack used to walk this campus. I used to see him walk the campus. He was the incarnation of whatsoever, not only in character, but in his courage and in his commitment, in his total dedication. I used to hear the stories about that early faculty and about what Dr. and Ms. Womack did, of getting out of their house, moving into the administration building, doing whatever it took. You leave with a legacy from Lambuth, you graduating seniors, and the password is for this arduous adventure. It is also for the passionate pursuit of your purpose and for the challenge for whatever it takes to live life at its highest and its best. You go now upon your journey. Go in the grace of God. And God bless you every step of the way. Amen.